Hi guys, today is the first day of autumn meteorologically, so I thought I'd recommend a book that has a bit of an autumnal feel to it, even though it isn't specifically set during autumn. So last month in August, Drowned Country by Emily Tesh was released. Now this is a Tor.com novella and it is part of a duology called the Greenhollow Duology. Since this is the second book in the series, I can't really tell you all that much about it without spoiling the first book. So I thought what I'd do instead is talk about the first book some more. I have talked about it before in a wrap-up sometime last autumn, but I thought now that the series is complete, the mini-series, the duology, now that it is complete, it deserves its own spotlight. This series is a simply delightful folkloric fae fantasy set sometime in the 19th century, and it is about an old forest in which magical creatures and spirits roam. The first book, Silver in the Wood, introduces us to Henry Silver, who is a scholar of the occult. But he isn't just simply a researcher of the bookish kind, he is also quite hands-on with his job. And in this he takes after his mother, who is a sort of an historical genteel version of Buffy, or of Sam and Dean from Supernatural rather, because she goes after the magical creatures. Henry Silver has just bought Greenhollow Hall and the lands that come with it, i.e. the forest. And there in the forest, which is his now, he has a tenant in Tobias Finch who lives in a cottage like a sort of logger in the forest. But Silver suspects that rather than a logger, Finch is actually the green man of the forest. And Henry won't stop bothering him, and he won't listen to him when Tobias tells him that he shouldn't traipse through his forest on the days when the veil between the human world and the spirit world is thin, and spirits and magical creatures roam the forest. But Silver couldn't be less concerned, because after all, that is what he has come to the wood for. But he gets a little more than he bargained for, and of course, in the end, things get quite out of control. But there is a twist to all of this, and that is that the story is actually told from the perspective of the Green Man. Since I read the second book, Drowned Country, which is told from a different perspective, since I read that, I've come to appreciate just how weird and different and ancient and dreamy the character voice in this first book is. But it's done so quietly and in such an understated fashion that you hardly even notice it when you read the first book. It was still absolutely lovely to read, even the first time around. The second book feels like a long epilogue to the first book, a where are they now kind of story. And although Silver in the Wood absolutely stands on its own, it was still lovely to get closure for the characters. Like I said in the beginning, I can tell you almost nothing about Drowned Country without spoiling it. And there is quite a cool twist to the plot really early on, which I don't want to spoil for you under any circumstances. What I can say is that it features the same characters as the first book, and it begins with a vampire hunt at Whitby Abbey, only it is called Rothling Abbey in the book, but the town and the abbey are clearly modeled on Whitby, which is nice. I love that as a setting. But a lot of it, again, is set in the wood, which makes it such a nice autumnal read. And to top off all the loveliness, there is also a romance element to the books, which is especially strong in the second book. I think these are absolutely fantastic stories to curl up with under a blanket with a cup of hot tea now that the days are finally getting colder again. But they also work if you are on the other side of the world. Because at least the first book, a very significant scene in the first book is actually set during the spring equinox. So once again, that is Silver in the Wood and Drowned Country by Emily Tesh. If you like folkloric fantasy at all, do give them a try if you haven't already. That's all for today. Bye!